Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. So you can really tell how wise Solomon was. And today we want to take this opportunity to learn from a book in the Bible that are considered or to be believed as Solomon's writing. The book is called Ecclesiastes. How many of you have read that book? All right, wow, quite numbers of you. How many of you knew that book? But you just have not read it, but you knew there's this book in the Bible. How many of you don't even know there's a book like that in the Bible? Okay, it's a very interesting book called Ecclesiastes. Okay, we know that Solomon is so wise. If you read in 1 Kings chapter 4, in a few verses before this, it said he wrote more than 3,000 proverbs. He spoke more than 3,000 proverbs. Proverb is a word of wisdom. So Solomon spoke more than 3,000 proverbs. You can find some of the proverbs in the book of Proverbs. And he also wrote 1,005 songs. I mean, I took pride of writing 3 songs. I thought, wow, I'm such a good writer. Wrote 3 songs. Imagine Solomon, he wrote 1,005 songs. And you can read some of them in the book Song of Songs. Okay? So that's Solomon. Now, let's go a bit deeper about this book. The book of Ecclesiastes, it's named after the first one in chapter 1. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. So now we can see why some people believe it's written by Solomon. But some scholars say it's not Solomon. But anyway, whoever wrote it is not that important. But the word teacher here came from the Hebrew words Koheleth. Koheleth means somebody who speaks in front of assembly. Someone who speaks in front of many people. That's why it was translated as teacher or speaker or preacher. In Bahasa, it's translated to be pengkhotbah, which means preacher, right? And when it's translated to the ancient Greek, it becomes Ecclesiastes. So the English just take it into Ecclesiastes. Okay, that's how it get the name from. And many people didn't really like this this book, because if you really read the book, if for you already knew this book, it sounded a bit negative, right? It sounded pessimistic. It sounded helpless, hopeless. That's why some people, when they read this, why this book get into the Bible anyway? It sounds really negative. But my prayer today is that we could understand this book in a correct way, and we can learn the wisdom, a great wisdom, actually, that we can gain from this book, so that we can really enjoy the life that God has given us today, and really make the most out of this life and know how to live it in the right way. The reason why this book sounded very negative, because, it's this word meaningless or vanity appears 37 times in the book. For those who have read this book, you were like, why keep repeating meaningless? Meaningless. As we read it later, you will find what I meant. The word meaningless here comes from the Hebrew word hevel. Hevel. Okay? Now, the real meaning of hevel actually is vapor, or smoke or breath, or some people translate it to be enigma or riddle, puzzle, mystery, unsolved problems. So that's what actually hevel means. So not really means meaningless, because when you really translate to be meaningless or vanity, that's why it sounded very negative and pessimist and, a lot of hopelessness there. But when you really understood the real meaning, which is vapor or something that is temporary, something that cannot be grasped, something that's seen for a while and then, disappear, something like enigma, something like puzzle, then we can understand the book better. Now, another word that shows up more than hevel is tov. It appears twice than the word hevel, which means good or pleasant. It's written in the same book, the 12 chapters. Now, for some of you who've been to Israel, how many of you have been to Israel before? All right. So do you remember what people say to each other when you say good morning? Shalom is salam, peace with you. Well, there's this word, good morning. Boker Tov. Remember? Remember when we first hear the word Boker Tov, we're like, because for Indonesian we know the word Boker, right? So that's good morning in what do you call it in Hebrews. Okay, so Tov means good. Now, why this is interesting? Because actually, in the midst of this life, which is very mysterious for some of us, we have some unsolved questions. Actually, if you can see life in the correct way, there's so many good things that come up from this life itself. The teacher himself want all of us here to understand and to have the wisdom how to live this life, this temporary life, the life that is so uncertain, the life that is so full of questions in the right way. Because if we have the wrong mindset about this life, we become very discouraged, or we can be very disappointed with this life. But if we have the right mindset, the right wisdom, the right view of this life, there are so many good things that can come out from this life that we live in. How many of you in this life, we have some unsolved questions? Yeah? We do, yeah? We have these puzzling questions that we have. For example, some of us probably have asked this, like, I worked so hard, but why the result is not there? Right? Some of us like, why? Isn't that when you work hard, then the result will be there? Some of us probably have this question, like, how come that person, he doesn't even fear God? He lives the way he wants. He doesn't care. He's so mean, but look at him. He's so successful. Like, we wonder why. And then we ask the other question, like, this guy lives so righteously. Look at his business, keep failing. Then we don't have the answers. How come that guy is so healthy? He exercises every day and he dies so young. And these guys, smoking, drinking, live like there's nothing. And guess what? He's 95 years old now. And look at him. And still very strong and going. And we were like wondering, what happens? Some of us have the question of like, I try to be nice with people. I try to live my life in a good way. How come I have to suffer this critical illness? Some people was asking, I have everything that I want, but why my life is still so empty? And I'm still not satisfied. I've been serving God for these years. I've been giving my life. How come I don't have a boyfriend? And look at that sister over there. Always come late, now have boyfriend. Or the other way too, right? A brother said, I've been giving, I've been serving, I've been doing everything. The sister that I like, she did not even turn her face to me. And that brother, he was not doing so well spiritually. How come every sister wants him? Like, then you were like having all this puzzle. And some people are like, I gave my life to God and, I have to lost my loved ones. What happens? Have you ever faced this kind of situation or questions in life? Or you're too young to face these questions of life? Huh? It's coming. When you get to our age, it's coming. Yeah, it's there. We faced it so many times already. But that's what happens. See, the book of Ecclesiastes, brothers and sisters, help us to see the reality of life. that life is not always gonna go the way we want it or the way we think it will go. Life is not like mathematics. In life, 1 plus 1 is not always equals 2. That's what the book of Ecclesiastes is trying to say. No wonder today you'll find people questioning God. You'll find people even bitter towards God because they could not accept that in life 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. But that's life. Today, if you understand the wisdom from the book of Ecclesiastes, you can make the most out of this uncertain life, the life with a lot of questions. And we can really enjoy the life that God has given us. So what is needed? What do we need to learn? What can help us? Let's dive into the book, okay? All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1 to 3. It says that the words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem, meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What a start of a book. You know, if you find someone, you know, that start saying things like that, like you met your friend and say, hey, how are you? Meaningless. Meaningless. You say, I don't want to be with that friend, man. It's such an energy sucker, right? So anyway, so what do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? You can sense that frustration. You can sense that pessimism. You can sense that, you know, this guy is, you know, just, you know, willing to give up with life. You know, the word hevel, meaningless, is being used 4 times just in the short in verse 2. You know, it says that he was so frustrated. It said all the labors, you know, means nothing. He was disappointed that his hope was not achieved. Maybe some of us felt that way this time. Maybe some of us have felt that way before. But that's what the teacher or the speaker was trying to show to all of us this morning. Let's see what he said next. He said, all things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new. It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. Do you like talking to a person like this? I don't. You know, I brought some like friends or brothers, you know, to a place, for example, you know, to a place to eat out of town. I remember bringing one brother. I was in Medan, you know. And how many of you came from Medan here? No? Medan? Okay. So Medan is very interesting, yeah, because if you've been to Medan, Medan has a lot of good foods. Yeah, good foods, okay? So I was bringing this brother to this restaurant. And I said, this noodle is so nice. I say, I never had this noodle, that's nice of noodle before. So the brother was like, I've tasted like this in Jakarta. You know, I was like, come on, at least encourage me. You don't have to be so honest. And you can say it's nice, you know, instead of saying that, I tried this in Jakarta. Nothing special, you know. So this sounds like this teacher here, right? Right? And he says, life's like that, you know. And he said, he never satisfied with life. You know, he said, he tried. You know, he looked for things that are new, tried to satisfy himself. But he fell. And I want you to see what he tried. If this is Solomon, and we can really understand what he has really tried to achieve, what he really tried to do. These are a few things he did. He tried to look he tried to satisfy himself by learning a lot of wisdom, knowledge. You know, you can read it in chapter 1, verse 16 to 18. As I told you earlier, he could even speak more 3,000 proverbs. He could write 1,005 songs. You understand how wise he was. And then that was not enough for him. He was trying to achieve it by pleasure, by drinking a lot of wine and just have fun and get drunk, you know. And that's how he tried to be satisfied. You can read it in chapter 2, verse 1 to 3. And that's not enough. He even pushed himself. He want to work hard. He started many projects. He built houses. He built vineyards. He built a lot of farms, you know. He tried to satisfy himself by his work. Chapter 2, verse 4 to 7. And he also tried to accumulate as many wealth as possible. You know, gold, silver, you know, a lot of slaves. And even some people tried to calculate how much money he had at that time. You know, some scholar tried to calculate how much money he had. You know what it came up to? Solomon had 2.2 trillion US dollar. I don't know how much is that, but I can't even count the zeros in rupiah. That's a lot of money, right? And that's what he had, okay? And not only that, he tried to satisfy himself through relationship. So he started finding women. And if you really look at the Bible in 1 Kings chapter 11, you knew that he had 700 wives from nobles. So this is, in bahasa, bukan kaleng-kaleng. You know, it's not like, you know, this is not like women like from the street. You know, it's like the nobles. Ini honestly, bukan kaleng-kaleng. 700 wives, 300 gundik. What is gundik? Yeah. I mean, concubine. You know, 300, 1,000 women. You know, I was preaching this last week. Suddenly it dawned to my mind. I was looking at the room, you know, 1,000, you know, people were sitting in front of me. I was like, I can't imagine those are my wives. But that was Solomon. And how was the result? What happened? What was the result? In chapter 2, verse 9, it says, slide. Oh, I can read here, sorry. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor. And this was the reward for all my toil. Basically, what he was trying to say, he achieved everything. He got it. He had it. But the question is, after he achieved all those things, after he owns all those things that he thought that would satisfy him, what happened? Let's see the next verse. Verse 11. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. The question is, why? Why? After everything that he has achieved and gained, he still felt meaningless. He still felt like chasing after a wind. Why couldn't he feel satisfied? Then he summarized it in chapter 5, verse 18. He said, this is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during a few days of life God has given them. For this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possession and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. For the first time, the teacher, the preacher, understood that having and enjoying is completely different things. You can have things. It doesn't mean you can enjoy the things. And the reason why he finally could enjoy that, he said, because he understands everything that he achieved is a gift from God. He even could see that the few days of his life is a gift from God. And the ability to enjoy even is the gift of God. You can have it, but it doesn't mean you can enjoy it. It's the gift of God. What can make us satisfied is not how much we have. It's not about how much we do. It's not about how long we could live. But it's about how can we appreciate what we already have. How we can be grateful for what we already have. How can we see it's from God? How can we here have what we call contentment? Because without contentment, we will never be able to enjoy what we have. What could make us frustrated in this life? Because we measure our life from what we have and what we achieve. The danger of this is that humans never get satisfied when they don't have the contentment. They always want more and more. And no wonder, whatever they have, whatever they achieve, they will never be satisfied. Today, how about all of us here? It's not that we cannot achieve more or have more, but do we have contentment in our life? Can we see things that we have today, the life that we have, the time that we have? It's all the gift of God. Can we appreciate that? Can we be grateful for that? Can we enjoy what we already have? I like what this rabbi say. Rabbi Heman Schachtel say happiness is not having what we want, but wanting what we have. Sometimes we are so busy trying to have what we want, and we forgot to want what we have. I want all of us to look around us, like look around what you have. Take time. Consider what God has given you. Consider things that you already owned. Consider things that God has blessed you with. Count your blessing. Be grateful. See, life will be very different when we live our life with contentment. And that's what this preacher or this speaker was trying to teach all of us. Today is not about what you have, how much you have. It's whether you can appreciate what you already have. Let's continue the second thing we can learn. In chapter 5, verse 10, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. See, sometimes people think that if we don't have money, we cannot sleep. But we also find people with a lot of money that could not sleep. You know, because there's no guarantee. Like, if you have money, you have everything you have, then you'll be able to sleep well. You continue. This is, I forgot to highlight this. This is amazing. Verse 13, it says, I have seen a grievous evil under the sun. Wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners. Isn't that sad? You try to gather wealth, but then it harms you instead of benefiting you. Isn't that sad? I was talking to a brother, a few days ago. I was so impressed with him. He came to me and said, bro, can I get advice? I said, sure. He was showing me his schedule of work. Basically, he's a freelance tutor, in Mandarin. So he was packing up his schedule, and he's doing well. His business is doing great, and he said that, wow, look at my schedules here. I really want to get advice whether this schedule is too much or not. I said, I look at the schedule, it's fine. And I said, as long as you get your priority right, you'll be able to enjoy life. And say yes. And I asked him, I said, please don't fill the evening schedule. He said he won't do that. I said, because he said, the reason why I look for money is to enjoy my time is with my wife. I don't want to, because of looking for money, then I cannot enjoy my time with my wife. I thought, that's very wise. What's the purpose of having a lot of money? You can't even enjoy your time with your kids. Having a lot of money, you can even enjoy your time with your wife. Okay, so I thought that's a good start. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. But look at this. It said, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owner. Isn't that sad? You collect wealth, but it harms you. Or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children, there's nothing for them to inherit. Some people work so hard, and then they have everything, and the kids doesn't even want to talk to you. Isn't that sad? The kids say, hey, sorry, you just live with your money. I don't need your money. I find people like that. I met people like that. He said, after I graduate, I will never see my parents anymore. Oh, isn't that sad? If my daughter said that to me, then I'll say meaningless. I will understand meaningless is all about. It is meaningless. After everything that you work hard for, and then your daughter say, sorry, I don't want to stay with you. I don't want to know you, and I don't need you. I have my own life. Don't even come into my life. Isn't that sad? But a lot of people have it. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from the toil that they carry in their hands. Verse 16. This too is grievous evil. As everyone comes, so they depart. And what do they gain? Since they toil for the wind. All the days they eat in darkness with great frustration, affliction, and anger. See, this teacher realized that having the wealth didn't mean that he could sleep well. Having the wealth didn't mean that he could have a good life. Having the wealth didn't mean, he will enjoy life. And how often, as I shared earlier, the wealth that we had actually become a curse instead of a blessing. I have to share this. It's so sad, like a few months ago, when I attended the funeral wake of my uncle, and seeing my cousins fighting each other in the funeral wake because of the inheritance. They slap one another, even in the funeral. And these were my cousins that I grew up with. I was like, what happened? Like they didn't have enough money? But isn't that sad? I imagine being the dad, being the mom, watching the kids slapping one another because of the money they collected. Isn't that sad? How many friendships were broken today because of money? They started, as business partners, and then that's it. Something went wrong, pump. No more talking. How many kids today were broken-hearted because of money? How many marriages today are broken because of money? How many characters were destroyed because of money? Today, having all these things doesn't guarantee anything. Chapter 6, verse 1 to 2. Are you guys still with me? Okay. I still have time. I have seen neither evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth, possessions, and honor, so that they lack nothing their hearts desire. But God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them, and strangers enjoy them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. Some people may have everything, but they can't even enjoy it. Instead, other people enjoy it. Sometimes I joke, with some of the brothers and sisters. We don't have the gift of having or owning, but we have the gift of enjoying. I think that's more important. We can enjoy, what we have. See, the teachers try to remind us again that all these things, all the things that we possess, the wealth, it's all given by God. But the more we focus on ourselves, the less we can enjoy that. The more we try to protect what we have, the more we try to keep it to ourselves, the more we were going to lose it. If we cannot enjoy it, someone else will enjoy it. So what do we need? What do we need today? What can we learn? See, God wants us to focus not on how much we have. Let me repeat this. God doesn't want us to focus on how much we have, but God wants us to focus on how we use what we have. Okay? It's not about how much we have, it's how we use what we have. That's more important. That's why in chapter 7, verse 1, it says, a good name is better than the fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. The death is the destiny of everyone. The living should take this to heart. The teacher says, a good name is better than fine perfume. At the end of our life, people will not remember what perfume do you wear. Do you say you wear perfume? No. You say you wear perfume? It's not the perfume that you use or wear or put on, yeah? Okay. I was trying to find the right verb. Okay, it's not, people won't remember you by what car you drove, or how big your house is and everything, or how much wealth you have. People will remember you for what you do, for how generous you are, for the positive impact that you have given around you. How we have used the thing that God has blessed us with. Today, whether we use it for ourselves or we use it to help people around us to be better. So it's very important that we contribute, what God has entrusted us well. If we truly believe that this is the gift of God, have we ever asked to God how He wants us to use what He has entrusted us? A lot of times we focus on ourselves. Today, our life is not measured by how much you have, but by how many you help. That's how our life is measured. If you feel like, I can have all these things, but you have nothing, you have no one, then you help no one, then it means nothing. But if you have a little, but you can help many, that means a lot. Today, how have we used what God has entrusted us? It's so sad to see some people who is very giving towards himself or herself, spend a lot on himself, herself, but when it comes to helping others, they were very calculative. Isn't that sad? But today I want to say I'm very proud of Jem. Okay, you can clap. Yes. Because I know, if not all of you, but a lot of you are very generous. I knew even last week or two, when, there's a need of this sister who needs some renovation in the house, and you guys are very, giving and contribute in that. Really respect all of you for that. And I know when the church has need, you're always very giving. When the brothers, sisters around you, they're less fortunate, who have more needs, you are always available to help. And I want to thank you for that. Yeah? Today we can enjoy the gift of God. Whether it's our talents, our treasures, our time, we can enjoy it if we use it to bless others too. Our blessing shouldn't stop with us, but we should contribute it to other people too. It's not about how much we have, it's about how we use what we have. Paul said it very clearly in Acts chapter 20, that it's more blessed to give than to receive. Last but not least, let's have a good conclusion of everything that happened in this life. Okay? What are some conclusions that we can make out of this life? First, in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, it says, there's time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to the end. See, first of all, it's very important that we have to see that God's timing is always the best and the most beautiful. God has planned everything in our life according to His time. He knows the season for everything. See, a lot of people became disappointed and discouraged because they could not accept that the timing that God has put. If you keep reading in chapter 3, verse 2, it said there's time to die, time to leave, time to hold, time to let go hold. What does it mean? It means that there's time for everything. We got to use our time well. For example, many people regrets, because they don't give their best for their parents when their parents are alive. Remember? They're like crying and saying, I should have brought my parents for holiday. I should have treated my parents better. I should have done that. It's too late. Why did you do it during the lifetime? That was the time to hold. That was the time to bring them for holiday. There was time to treat them dinner. There was time to spend with them. It's when the time that you have to let go, you have to let go. See, but if those people who have given their best in their life, when the time of let go, yes, they were sad, but you know what? They could accept it. Why? Because now it's time to let go. Today we're going to use our time wisely. If today we have our parents, spend time with them. We have our friends, spend time with them. With our spouse, spend time with them. Don't use it in the wrong way. There's time to work, we have to work. There's time we have to, reap the result, then we reap the result. So that's how we use our time. See, if we are singles today, stop thinking about when I'm going to get married. Enjoy your single time. Because I know some people after they get married, they start thinking, it's better when I'm single, yeah? See, this is human. That's why you can never enjoy this life, because you have this wrong conclusion. They believe that when you're still single, enjoy that. It's God's time for you to be single. When your child is small, enjoy your time with your child when it's small, because if you don't spend time with them, you'll be surprised. When you get to teenager time, they don't want to spend time with you anymore. I want to play with my kids when they will still want to play with me. Don't take it lightly and say, it's too young, they don't know anything, I don't need time for them. By the time you want to spend time with them, they don't want to spend time with you anymore. See? That's why we got to use our timing well. When God allows things to happen, it's the best and beautiful. Okay? Next one is that he said he set eternity in human hearts. There's a bigger and eternal picture of this life. Don't jump to conclusion too quickly. Don't judge situation too quickly. We have to see bigger picture, eternal picture. Why people get really disappointed with this life? Because they only judge things at that time. Okay? Some people find it very hard to accept death because they only see death as the final. But today, if you can see from the perspective of eternity, that's only the beginning of eternal life. Then you're like, whoa, you look at death in a positive way. Then if you see things from the bigger picture, whatever that you have to go through in life right now, you say, wow, God has a better plan ahead of us. That's how we need to conclude. Make that conclusion. I like what C.S. Lewis said. He said that if we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. I want us to understand here that, hey, if we can't find satisfaction here, we have to understand there's another world. This world is not our home, just like the song that you like to sing. Okay? There's a better home out there. Last but not least, this is the last conclusion that he wrote. Now all has been heard. Here's the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil. Last but not least, fear God. I forgot to translate that. Okay? Takut akan fear God. Why? Because when you fear God, you will obey his commands and it will protect you from making a lot of foolish decisions in our life. And because of that, then we can enjoy our life. Even you go through, fearing God doesn't mean that you will not go through bad things in your life. Don't get me wrong. You still go through bad things, but you know how to face those bad things in the right way. So if you have the right conclusion, right perspective of life, you will appreciate the life that God has given you. Whether it's hard, whether it's easy, whether you're healthy, whether you are sick, whether you are clear with things or you're confused with things, it's not a problem. Because we trust that God knows his best timing and his time is beautiful. Everything that happened only part of a bigger picture. And we know by trusting him, fearing him, following his commandments, we will have a great life. So I just want to say, leave you all with these three things. Let's have contentment in our life, okay? And that will help us to be able to enjoy this life, to be satisfied with whatever God has given us. Secondly, let's live a life where we just don't focus on ourselves, but let's contribute. Make this world a better place. If God bless you, God wants you to bless others with the blessing that He's given you. Last but not least, let's have a good conclusion of life so that we can see life in the right perspective, so that we can enjoy every moment that God has given us. I hope it helps. God bless you all. Let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for this short life that we have in this earth, God. If we look at the life that we have today, it's only a dot in the line of eternity. Help us not to be consumed by the wrong things, but help us here to be able to be consumed by you and trust that, God, you have the best interest, the best thing for us in our life, God. Help us to live our life the way you want it and with the wisdom that you help us to have. Thank you for everything, God. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.